Hi, my name's Jonathan Hicks. We're back at the Dice Cup, and I'm joined this evening by
Steve.
Peter.
Hey, Barden.
And we've just finished playing Russian Railroads. Now, this is a heavy Euro. It's a worker placement game. Essentially, each player has their own player board. You're trying to develop tracks. So there are three main routes you can take. So you can go from Moscow to Vladivostok, Moscow to St. Petersburg, or Moscow to Kiev. And partly you're trying to build the track. So the black pieces represent how far you've managed to extend basic track, and then you kind of get improved track and even better track. And later in the game you can get really good track. And you're scoring points for how good the track is along each of these three routes. So it tells you up at the top here how many points you get for each of the tracks. But you must be able to run trains along the track to score points. So in this case, the 4 plus the 3 means I will score points for the first 7 spaces. So anything beyond that, even if you've got high ones up here, you're not going to score points for. So you're trying to extend your track and get trains to run on the track. There's also, though, an industry track at the bottom here. Your little purple marker starts here. And there's various ways you can advance the industry and produce factories, or you sort of build factories here that will give you extra things as you advance your industry marker along here. But the main way, as you can see all these stars, is that you're going to get points for advancing your industry marker. How do you do those things? Here's the worker placement board. The interesting thing is some spots only require 1 worker, but some spots require 2 or even 3 workers in certain places. There's this interesting mechanic where you can get coins from certain spaces, and coins effectively act like workers, but you can keep them from round to round, which you can't do with workers. Obviously, any workers you don't use are going to be wasted on a particular round. So you can see all of these spaces move different colours of track. These spaces are how you get the trains or the factories. That's moving your industry marker along, and you can see you can get coins or even extra workers. And one final thing I'll just mention is engineers. You can actually buy with coins. That's one of the reasons why coins are so good. An engineer. And when you buy this engineer, it comes next to your mat like this and becomes an extra action space that only you can use. So this one, you stick your work here, you get to move your grey track 3 spaces, which is much better than the one on the board, which only moves it 2. So these personal actions are really good. So these engineers can actually be used, but they sort of cycle along as we play the round. So this one will move here next round, and then someone else will be able to buy that, and it disappears off the board. So really interesting mix of worker placement here. Lots of different things you can do. Looks like it's quite dry, but actually I find this one very engaging. Steve, what do you think?
I love this game. There's one thing you didn't mention is that you score after every round. So there's 7 rounds in the game based on the engineers moving down. And at the end of the round 1, I might score 5 points, and you might score 3 and 6 over there and so on. So at the end of round 1, you get a few points here and there for doing various things. But whatever you score at the end of round 1, you'll score on round 2 and 3 and 4, because your track never goes backwards. You'll only either improve it or keep it the same. So if I score 10 points on the first round, I will get at least 10 on the second round. And it's kind of an accumulation of points throughout the game. At the end of the game, Andy had a much better board than anyone else. He was scoring 139 points on his last round, but due to other points in the game, the person who actually won actually scored more points to negate the last round that Andy got, which I really like. In fact, it's not about who just kind of does it the best throughout the whole game. It's kind of like, just before about to score, if I do this thing, I'll get 10 points extra, and that will kind of tide me over for the rest of the game. I do love it. I think it's a great worker placement game, and you often find that the person before you takes the spot you want. And it happens so often. There's always one, I really need that spot. I really need to get a new train. Oh, they've gone. And they go nearly every time you're desperate to take that action, which is a sign of a really, really tight game.
Peter?
Okay, this is my first game, and it's very heavy, and they've commented about in your first game you'll get absolutely trounced because there's so many mechanics. One of the interesting things that we've also talked about is like Stefan Feld games, and how with theme, this game has no theme whatsoever. Even Stefan Feld games have some theme. Because of that, I've actually discovered that I like Euro games with some theme, because this has none. But if you want to know whether you can master all the different dynamics and mechanics in a Euro, and in a heavy Euro at that, if you can master this, you can play any Euro game to a high degree, because there is so much going on in terms of how they all interrelate and the cumulative effect of point scoring. So, in summary, it's a case of it's a heavy Euro. If you're into just the mechanics of Euros, you will love this game. if you want a bit of theme to your Euro, it's very, very dry.
Okay. Abel?
I'll disagree with Peter a little bit. I think there's a bit of theme. There's a board, you're doing trains, you're trying to do tracks. It's not quite as dry as you made out. The two things I do like about it is, firstly, the interactions. You can literally move a bit of track, that gives you a bonus. You put that, you move some more track, you get another bonus, and they all sort of combine one after the other. The other thing is, it's really obvious when you look at the other people's player mats, quite often what people are going to do. So the whole idea of someone taking the space you was going to do just before, it's because they've looked and realised that, well, actually, if they can take that one, brown one there, then they're going to get the white. And you can almost see their plans and go, yes, this is how I'm going to unfold their plans in front of them. And you quite often will see their face drop like, oh, you just taken that move, why did you do that? And you're almost thinking, well, yeah, because I worked out that was the move to do. Overall, I think it's a fantastic game. Good heavy Euro. You have to love your heavy Euros, but if you do and you haven't played this, I'd recommend giving it a go.
Rating out of 10?
A rating out of 10, I'd give it 8.5.
Okay. Peter?
Well, I would add before I give my rating is that this is as much theme as what chess does. The chess has a castle, it has a king, so there's some royalty in it. So I would give it a 7. So even though I liked it, it's a case of it's a game I would play again, but it is heavy.
Okay. Steve?
This is my favourite game. I would rate it as high as 9.5. I actually haven't got a 10, but this is the best game I've played.
Okay. Yeah, I love this one, and it's a bit weird because when Peter talks about there being no theme, I look at it and think, yeah, he's kind of right. The theme feels really thin. I quite like the whole train thing, but actually, there's no trains on a map that you normally get in train games, and yet I love it. Like Steve was saying, I think this is not my favourite game of all time, but this is my favourite Euro of all time. It is so involving. All the mechanics, the way they interact. And I didn't really talk about, which they mentioned a little bit, a lot of the bonuses. If you look here, every time you get your track to certain spaces, you get these orange discs, and there's a big choice of different bonuses, and some bonuses will let you move other track, which means you get another disc immediately. So you can chain actions together and get massive turns and suddenly jump from getting 5 or 10 points to getting over 100 points on every round. So lots of really interesting mechanics. I never do very well at this game. I always get beaten and get beaten by quite a lot. But every time I play it, I come back and think, oh, I can do this next time and then I'll do better. And that's the sign of a really good game for me. It's something that always brings me back. I always can see how I could improve. And I'm really excited to play it again. So absolutely love this one. I'd be on a solid 9 out of 10. It's just great. All right, thanks for watching. That was Russian Railroads.